Hi and good evening, good morning, or whenever you're watching this show, good afternoon, wherever. Welcome to THFC Till I Die, the home of Tottenham and Irish soccer. As myself and my man next to me, the legend, the man that needs no introduction. If he was in Las Vegas, he would be at the Hilton Hotel or the MGM as one of those top performers. He is the one and only Dave, the Irish hotspot Harris. Mr. Harris, how are you, sir? And you look as excited about New Zealand tonight as I do.
I'll be honest, Dharma, I've been to every game this year, but this is one I just haven't bothered traveling this evening. I've just complete faith in anything we're trying to do right now. Um, Look, recency bias aside, I don't fully subscribe to your narrative of Stephen Kenny, but we'll get into that further in the show. But things have gone sour. There's no plan going forward on the football pitch. You can see that. He was supposed to come in and get rid of a lot of the old guard, yet he's still turned to a lot of them at times. I don't think that's helped them. But look, Irish football's in a complete mess anyway. So, what do we expect, Normal?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's in a mess, Dave, because it's been a mess because the governing body have allowed it to get into a mess. It's in a mess because we're not looking after our younger players, our kids. The Irish government don't care. GAA, rugby, get everything. Irish soccer gets nothing. And it's about time, and I think it's about time the likes of you, me, and other people within the community that are Irish, we need to stand up, Dave. We need to start them taking notice of us. We need to follow the Michael Collins and the way of 1918, Dave, and the War of Independence. We need to do a war of reform of the FAI, so Irish soccer comes back to the fore of the Irish people again. We deserve a national side to be proud of. We deserve a side that we can be shout from the rooftops. We're the best team in the world. And we don't have that, Dave. And it's not good enough. It shouldn't be good enough. And it should not be acceptable. And it doesn't have to be acceptable. We demand better and we need better.
No, look, I hear you on that. Look, we can kick up and scream and shout all we want, but at the end of the day, the government over in Ireland know it's corrupt. That's why they took it over, and they're still not adhering to the good rules that the government set in order to be able to get the money off the government to help fund, the FAI and the grassroots of the game. So, I mean, there's no point. Like, we can kick up and scream all we want, but if the people who, like the government, they know about it, but yet they're not doing anything really about it. I mean, it just doesn't seem like there's any gusto in Ireland to really sort of get Irish football fixed. And I do think that's partly to do with, they don't see football as, their main sport. They still see GAA, hurling, football and rugby is still on the outside, sort of, I would argue, although most of Ireland love football in terms of when it's looked at, in terms of funding. Like, you go across any small village, any county, could be in the back arse or nowhere. You look at the Gaelic pitches, they've all got really good clubhouses. The pitches are like Premier League standard. You go and look at most of the soccer pitches around, bar select counties that have benefited from the FAI for years in order to get their votes, in order to keep like the likes of John Delaney in his seat for so long. Counties outside of them, you go and look at the football pitches. They're on slants, they're on hills. I remember we had two pitches in Kilcullen. We had one out in Old Kilcullen and one in the new one. They are in the town. The one in the town was constantly waterlogged, and the one outside the town didn't get waterlogged. But if you wanted to play on it, you had to go and pick sheet shit up with a shovel and a bucket before the game.
Yeah. I know, Dave. Look, you and me can go back long enough, and me a bit more than you, how bad it was back then. And nothing's improved, Dave. And that's the thing. But look, what I want to start on, Dave, is Ireland's qualification for the European Championships. Look, I found a few bits of stats, and it's really shocked me. But firstly, this is Stephen Kenny's record. Look, I understand, Dave, when he came in, you were on I was always against him from day one. I said that to you, Philip Brady, Ollie, the lot of you, and all you said was, give him time, Dermotron, give him time. He's
But it
bringing
wasn't
the
just
kids.
that, though, Dermo. If we're going to be fair, we were saying where the FAI is supposed to go when there's no money.
Yeah,
Stephen Kenny was all they could afford. He was the best of a bad bunch.
I would have kept Mick McCarthy in there. I would have kept him in. He would have done a better job than Stephen Kenny's done over the last 3 years, Philip. Dave, to be fair.
They couldn't afford Mick McCarthy's
I
wages,
know.
though, Darmo, for a new contract.
Well, look, this is his record: 39 games, 11 wins, 11 draws, and 17 defeats. 28.21 win record. Of course, he took the job, of course, in the 4th of April 2020. Now, in the last qualification tournament for the Euro 2024, Ireland have averaged just 0.75 points per game. The Republic of Ireland's worst performance since the Euro 1972. So that sort of begs my first question, Dave, and the sort of first talking point. Has Stephen Kenny taken Irish soccer back? Has he brought it back to the dark ages?
I disagree on that, to be honest with you, Darmo. And I'm going to be fair on Stephen Kenny here. As much as I want Ireland to go in a new direction, I've got to be fair, right? You have to look at the circumstances in which he was appointed. Sorry. He was under 21 manager. For the first time ever in my lifetime, the under-21s were competitive underneath him, on the verge of going to a couple of major tournaments, which in my lifetime was unheard of.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, with the financial collapse of the FAI, we all know what happened with John Delaney, spending the FAI money on holidays, his daughter's birthday parties, his weddings, his wife's birthday parties, etc. Basically, it was going for him. Basically, the money was for him to live off. And everything, none of it was filtered down to grassroots, this, that, and the other. And you can see that. All you got to do is take a drive around Ireland and look at the stadiums in our best league, and then the pitches at grassroots levels. There's no excuses for the state that a lot of them are in. But so when we had no option but to just turn to Stephen Kenny. Now, at the time, the FAI painted it as, this is the new era, this, that, and the other. But since then it came out, they had to go that route because there was no money there to get someone else in, even on from Mick McCarthy, to be able to progress that. So that's why they went down the Stephen Kenny route, because of the money situation. He was the one that was willing to accept the money that they were willing to offer him, because it was a dream job to him. Now, the next bit is, we also have to understand, let's not pretend Irish football was in a great state for the 10 years before that. We haven't been in a great state since Mick McCarthy left the job. It's been a complete shambles, and as years have gone by, it's gotten progressively worse. So let's not pretend that Irish football was in a great state before that. It was already on the decline from that 2002 era anyway. It was rapidly on the decline. Trapattoni, Brian Kerr, Trapattoni. We had Steve Staunton in there for a period. Martin O'Neill and Keane, they got the best out of what they could. But, they were masking a slide anyway. And when you look at when Stephen Kenny came in, we had a lot of players that for the last couple of years who barely made international tournaments. They were all coming up to 32, 33 years of age. They were already on the decline. Their careers in England and abroad were already taking a decline anyway. And we have to understand that. And with Stephen Kenny, what he did do is, and one thing I will give the guy credit for, is he has put together a good squad, in my opinion, that in future, taken on by the right manager with the right game plan, can turn misfortunes around of Ireland, because he has completely lowered the average age of the squad. He's got rid of a lot of the old guard, and a lot of the new ones are coming through. And look, I think he's done a good job in that aspect. And you have to understand, international football is another step up again. You're playing against. Look, some of the losses that we've incurred under his tenure is not excusable. However, you can't excuse some of the losses. However, with Stephen Kenny, when you're going into these competitions with such a young squad, you will get outdone by the odd set piece or a bit of cleverness here or there, because you're dragging players who, some of them at the time, weren't even playing for their club at senior team, putting them in there in international football.
Yeah, I
hard step up.
I agree with you. He's done a good job with the youngsters. I will give him. Look, if I have to give him any credit, it's there, and I do agree with you on that point, Dave. But the point that got me is Stephen Kenny. As soon as after that World Cup qualification, it was plain to see he wasn't up for the job. Now, we had a disastrous Nation League qualification as well, which we got relegated to Group C. We've had a disastrous qualification for the European Championships. Now, you talk about previous managers, Dave. You talk about Trapattoni and Martin O'Neill. Yeah, it wasn't great football. I agree with you. And I agree with you also, it was masking. But they got us to major tournaments. It wasn't like we
Yeah,
didn't
but
get there.
Trapattoni had the likes of John O'Shea and people
Yeah,
like that
I
to use, the likes of
yeah,
Robbie Keane and all. You know, with Stephen Kenny, you're talking about youngsters where half of them weren't even playing for their senior teams.
yeah, I
You know,
know
you
that.
know,
Yeah.
playing in lower league divisions and having to take that massive
Mm,
step up. There's a massive difference in the caliber of players that someone like Trapattoni had to use
mm.
compared to Stephen Kenny, and we have to be fair about that.
I look, yeah, I get what you're saying, but look, I'm not standing down on my stance about Stephen Kenny, Dave. I
No,
agree
I'm
with
not
you.
asking you to stand down. I'm just
I,
trying to say, like, you know, we can
yeah,
sit here and paint Stephen Kenny as the bad guy and the downfall of Irish football, but he's not. John Delaney was the downfall of Irish
I,
football,
yeah,
and what I'm trying to say is, you know, compared to managers and or you know players that they've
mm,
had to use compared to the ones that are available now for Stephen
mm.
Kenny, it is night and day.
It is, and look, Stephen Kenny is just a brick in the wall of the downfall. There is other bigger players, Dave, other bigger people that have had a major influence in the downfall of Irish soccer. Stephen Kenny's just a little block in that wall that's coming down, if you know what I mean. So, look, I agree with you. Give him credit where credit's due with the younger lads, and some of the young lads he's brought through are very exciting. You look, Evan Ferguson. He's a great talent to start, dude. You got Obi-Wan Kenobi, as I call them, another great talent. You got Bazuma, the goalkeeper. There's a nucleus of young players there, and if you get the right manager in, we could have an exciting young side, Dave. And some of the youngsters in the under 21s at the moment could be brought up as well. So if you start
Yeah.
adding them together and you get a manager that knows how to motivate a side, that knows how to get a lot out of it. Look, we've seen it at Tottenham where we've had players that we think are not good enough. But
Mm,
Ange's come in and you look what Ange's done at Tottenham. Ange's in a world-class manager. Yet he's been successful wherever he's gone, but he's taken this team to another level. And that's his man management. Stephen Kenny's man management is not great. It isn't great.
yeah.
And he's
Look.
standing on the touchline isn't great. I
Mm,
call them the Garden Gnome Mark II because he stands
mm,
more. But if you look like of a Martin O'Neill or if you look like a Roy Keane, if he was to get the job, or even Damien Duff, um, it'd be more the players would feed off their enthusiasm from the touchline. Not like Conte, where they'd be afraid of him, but you know, if you look at Damien Duff, right, what he's done at Shelburne, got him into Europe, and you look at the players there, they thrive off his enthusiasm. They know he's been there, they're listening to him. And these young players that we've got now, if we've got a manager in, they will eat up his experience, they'll eat up his
mm,
enthusiasm. And that's half the battle for me, Dave. 50% of football is mental. The other 50% is tactical and physical, but the other 50% is mental.
mm,
You got to go into a game with the attitude. I don't care if we're playing Brazil. I don't care if we're
mm,
playing Germany. We can beat this lot. We're Ireland. We can do it. And
mm.
do you feel that we've lost that sort of
Look.
edge, that
Yeah.
we've lost that sort of love for wearing the shirt, if you know what I mean? If you and me were to wear it, Dave, we would look. To be fair, we're not fit, the pair of us. Okay, I've got a dodgy heart, dodgy knee, and a dodgy back. Right, you're younger than me, you're fitter than me. But say if Stephen Kenny said, "Dave and Dermotron, would you play for us tonight?" We'd be up to the Aviva, put on that shirt, and we would run till we both
Yeah.
have heart attacks. To be fair, mind you, they would be carrying us both up.
Look, Darmo. You know, I do agree with you when you look at it, especially this qualifying campaign.
Yeah,
First of all, let's go back to what you said that he shouldn't have got his new contract
yeah,
coming into this qualifying campaign. I think many people would have agreed with you. You know
yeah.
that's why we're at where we're at now, where you've got the media who were protecting Kenny and the
Mm,
FEI for quite some time, pundits and stuff, now speaking out about it. You look at the attendances in the Aviva, unless it's a big
mm,
game, they're well down. They can't even. They were knocked down Lansdowne Road because they were looking to capitalize on the buzz around Irish
mm,
football and build the Aviva. Now you look at the Aviva with rugby. packed out regardless of who they're playing. You look at the Aviva with soccer, people have lost interest. And they started losing interest way back with Trapattoni with the football. They only got behind it when we got to that the Euros that time when we got
In Poland,
trounced by Spain. That's the only time people really got behind it. Before that, many people didn't bother watching the qualifiers. Same with Martin O'Neill. I think with Stephen Kenny, one thing we have to point out as well is that he did try to go away from that defensive football and try and bring attacking football with him. Now you look at the goalkeeper and the backline situation, apart from right back with Matt Doherty. I don't know why he continues to persist with him when he keeps costing us goals. It's ridiculous. That's one of his downfalls. But you'd say to a certain degree, they get it. Midfield, you've got some tidy players there, but what you don't have is that link between the midfield and the striker, and that's what's ultimately killing us. You go back to let's be honest about it. Let's go back to what got us to major competitions over the last 10 years by the skin of our teeth. Set pieces. Now, that's one thing we haven't capitalized on, and we should be. Most of us were rare playing hurling or Gaelic football, which means you have to jump, you have to be good in the air. So we have an advantage over most nations in that aspect, and we should be using that. And that is something we have used that has got us to major competitions in the past. For some reason, under Stephen Kenny, we veered away from that, which I don't get, because even at the start when he was using Duffy and Egan, in years gone by, they were in that team scoring from set pieces. They stopped. That's all of a sudden come to a halt. That's let them down. But also, when you look at the squad, they ain't playing for him anymore. None of them really give a shit. Look, let's be honest, Darmo. One thing I agree with you on, he wouldn't inspire you to make an omelette, the fucker, right? He just wouldn't. He's absolutely. You look at his interviews before the game, and I've often sat there and you're listening to it. He's jumbling up his words. He doesn't know what he's saying, and you're like, hang on a minute. If he's like that in front of the media, what's he like in front of some of these Premier League stars in the dressing room?
I know.
It is. And then you see the performances. Then you see, like, okay, get them in, roll them at halftime. The performances don't get any better. The same shit continues. One thing we were always good at as a nation is we fought together. 11 men out on the pitch against everybody else.
Exactly.
That's gone.
Exactly.
You don't have players working for each other. And that's when you know a manager's time is up. It's not working. The players aren't together. The manager and the coaching staff aren't together. I don't know what the reasons are behind it, but we have come to the point where Stephen Kenny's time is up. But I'm not going to sit here and paint him in the light you do, Dermo, because I think when you take all the mitigating circumstances in how he got to the job, the squad that he's had to bring through, because that's what he was tasked to do, filter through them under-21s into the senior team. That was his sole purpose of coming in here, and he's done that. So when you look at the squad that he's had available to him compared to maybe other managers and stuff like that, I get it. His time is up. It hasn't worked out, but I understand where I was pointing, and I don't hold him, as the guy that's brought down Irish football. Far from it, lad.
I've never really, I've always agreed with you on the point about the younger players, Dave. I always have. But look, I've been spoiled. You've been spoiled, but I remember as a young lad watching Jack Charlton come in and taking Ireland to the Euros in '88, Italian '90, USA '94 when he was chucking the waters onto the players. I mean, everyone thought he's working for the Irish Water Board at that World Cup. But Jack Charlton got it. He got the Irish, how we think. He tapped into that, and he brought everyone along the journey. Like Martin O'Neill did, like other managers. Mick McCarthy did the same thing. He brought everyone along the journey. And like when Robbie Keane got the equaliser against Germany in 2002, you can see the players and the managers and the fan, we're all one. We're not one anymore. We're disconnected. We're pulled so far apart as a nation on the soccer side of it. It's ridiculous. And look, you can't blame Stephen Kenny for everything, though I do try. But you can. Looks as where we need to go next, Dave, on this sort of thing. The FAI
last thing before you go into that, Dermo.
Yeah.
Just one more team that we don't really benefit from that. Let's be brutally honest, we benefited way back since the Jack Charlton era.
Yeah.
Is the granny rule. For some reason, over the last 5 to 10 years,
We've
we're
gone
very
away from that.
hesitant in spotting players and getting them in
Mm,
and capping them like we used to do.
mm,
All of a sudden now it's like, well, we're asking the player, do you want to? We didn't do that before. We just said, look, we're going to call you up. You want to come and play? Yeah, no problem. You're
mm.
in the camp. Right, we're going to cap you. Now these guys are coming to camp, but then we're coming up to games. You're expecting them to play. They're not in the lineup. For instance, Declan Rice,
Yeah.
come played a couple of friendlies, but didn't cap him in a qualifier. Obafemi, it took some time to get Obafemi to come round.
Mm,
Um, you, you, we just not benefiting from the granny
mm,
rule the way we used to, and we were able to fill out our squads with granny rule players. But
mm,
now the FAI, they're picking up the phone. I've heard Mick McCarthy say, for instance, I
mm,
rang Mark Noble. Mark Noble laughed at me. I ain't coming.
mm.
I'm not wasting my time coming over to represent Ireland. With the shambles that's going
Yeah.
on there. And if he's saying that, imagine how many other people are
I
saying
know.
that.
Steve Bruce. Steve Bruce was approached to come to play for us as a player, play for Ireland. I mean, look, we used the granny rule. Jack Charlton was a genius for that granny rule. You got to give him credit. That man, if anyone's the godfather of Irish soccer, it's Jack Charlton. Because he used that, he went to. I always remember a story before we got onto it, Dave. He went to see Oxford play, and he went to watch John Aldridge. And he went and spoke to John Aldridge. Yeah, do you want to come play for Ireland? John Aldridge, yeah, I'll go. He says, John Aldridge said, well, what about that player over there, Ray Houghton? And he went up to him, do you want to play? His dad's from Donegal. Do you know what? Yeah, I'll come and play for you. So instead of going for one, he got two. Jack Charlton for me is, if you're taking the Irish job, you need to look what Jack Charlton did. You need to look at the blueprint of how he did it, how he got everyone together, how he got the nation together. I remember Italian 90. It was like Euro 88 was something special. Your dad, and I know your dad would tell you stories about everyone going to the credit union and kitchens not being done and summer holidays not being done. Everyone off to Germany. And then we've got Japan in 2002. You as young Dave running around after Robbie Keane scored, all
Mhm.
excited. And we've got memories we can look back on, Dave. We've got memories we can
But
cherish.
Dermot, even the 2002 squad, right? I'm just looking at it
Yeah.
here, right? You had Stephen Reid
Yeah.
benefited from the granny rule. Lee
Yeah.
Carsley benefited from the
Yeah.
granny rule. Clinton Morrison benefited from the granny
Hmm.
rule. Who else do we have? Gary Breen benefited from the granny rule. Mark Kinsler, Kevin Kilbane, Matt Holland, Jason McAteer. You go through some of the, like, this is what I'm talking about. You
Yeah.
go through squads in the past. The granny rule has helped us.
Yeah.
Now, we I don't know what, we're not
It,
using it anymore.
no, it's a trick. The next manager has to come in, has to use that trick. That's what I say. Follow the Jack Charlton principles. Do that. If you've got Granny is Irish, do you want to come play for us? We are building something. Make it attractive to them. So look, this brings me
We
on to
also
our
have
next.
to be better in identifying some of
Oh
them
yeah,
kids younger.
we do.
You look at some of the players that are playing for England that could have played for Ireland.
Yeah,
Jack Grealish spent years in the underage system, but we
yeah.
didn't cap him early enough.
No.
Declan Rice, another one. Capped him. We brought him in when
Mm,
it was too late, basically. When the secret was out of the bag.
yeah,
Harry Kane could have also played for
I
Ireland.
know.
Wayne Rooney could have played for Ireland.
I
James
know.
Maddison could have played for Ireland.
Yeah.
You look at the squad potentially we could have had. And if we would have got on them talents earlier, who knows where we could be right now.
Could you imagine Harry Kane playing for us? Oh, Dave, you be in the element. If Harry Kane went out in the green of Ireland, I don't think we see you for the next month. You'd be
Mhm.
just too busy. Get the tissues ready. That's what Dave was
You
saying
know,
to his other half. Hey, give me the tissues here. Just leave me alone for 10 minutes. I'm watching him come out in an Ireland shirt.
if
That
I'm
would.
correct, I think Jude Bellingham could have played for
Yeah, he
Ireland as
could.
well. I know,
Yeah,
I know Ireland are looking at capping his. I think they've approached Joby Bellingham, his younger brother, playing for
yeah.
Birmingham.
If they got him, he's a talent. He's a talent and a half. Listen, Dave. Look, we run quickly. Look, sort of thing. I know you touch for time and that. The FAI, does it need a reform, Dave? Does it need? What needs to happen with the governing body of Irish soccer? It is corrupt. It is broken. It is the foundations are not there. What needs to happen? Does it need a reform, Dave, or does it need a government intervention?
Um, Look, Darmal. The thing is, with John Delaney and the Troubles, right?
Mm.
First of all, let's go through what happened. The FAI, the government got wind that the FAI was bankrupt, that had
Yeah.
no money, this, that, and the other, right? Because the FAI had to go to the government looking for money, and
Mm.
the government were basically going, hang on, where's all the money from sponsorships and everything else? So then they asked the FAI to come forward with where the money's gone to, or show where the money's gone to,
Mm.
this, that, and the other. The FAI, first of all, tried to cover that up. The old boys club that it was tried
Mm.
to cover that up and refused to disclose any of it.
Yeah.
So then the government just got involved, went in, audited it, found out that there was corruption beyond belief. So then they said, okay, well, we can't let you repair this on your
Mm.
own because, there's still a lot of people in the FAI, who are part of
Yeah.
this old system. So we're going to put stuff in,
Mm.
uh, you know, basically a list of reforms that we want you
Yeah.
to make. You make them, we'll help you out with money. We'll give you funding,
Mm.
basically. Now, one of them was 40% representation of women on
Mm.
the board. The FAA come out and point blank said we're not doing it.
Yeah.
So they're not getting funding just for that.
Yeah.
Right? Then also the new guy that's put in place, a lot of people don't like him because currently he's living in London and he's traveling, back and forth.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
don't think he's as committed to the role as what we needed someone to
Mm.
be when you're talking about reforming the FAI.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was holiday payments. I think, what was it,
Yeah.
20 grand or something like that put
Yeah.
into his bank
25
account
grand. Yeah.
by the FAI that should never have done it in the first place because
Mm.
they were told if you pay this guy over a certain amount, we ain't funding you. What do they go
Yeah.
and do? They're paying bonuses and everything else, which put them over the amount, which means no funding.
Yeah.
So, although the government and all are trying to reform it, there doesn't seem to be any gusto within anyone within the
No.
Republic of Ireland that really wants reform. Look, Dermo, plenty of people talk about it.
Yeah.
The news have put out articles, countless of articles about
Mm.
it. The government have tried to step in. Ex-players, Irish players have spoke about the need for funding. People within the league have screamed for it. You've got people who came from good careers in England to go and
Mm.
play in Ireland and quickly left because and I've heard them speak about how corrupt they found the leagues and all
Yeah.
over here. It needs reform,
It,
but
it,
no
it,
one
ne-
wants to rip down the old establishment of the FAI
no.
to be able to breed a new one to be able to reform it.
It needs somebody to come in that's brave and that's gonna say, do you know what? I don't give a feck what you lot say. Doing it, that's it. You look at RTE as well, Dave. That needs reform as well. We all know that scandal that's come from that. You are right. Every major corporation, some way, shape, or form in this country is corrupt. We know that. We know that governments of the past have been corrupt, Dave. We've gone through that. We know the FAI are corrupt. We know RTE are somewhere corrupt. So we know that companies and organizations in this country, there's corruption all the way through from start to finish. Now, how do you stop that? Is you bring in an independent regular to oversee the different companies, these different organizations. But you're right, the FAI don't want to play ball. Well, if they don't want to play ball, you withhold funding. But then who you hurting? You're hurting the game in this country. You're hurting the youngsters that want to play the game. You're hurting no sponsors will want to come in. So again, that's another double-edged
But they
sword.
can't keep. Well, look, 100%, I get that. But also,
Yeah.
you can't keep funding guys that just won't listen.
No,
They've already
exactly.
gone through their own money.
Mm.
What you're going to do? Allow them to go through money that they've come to you as a last resort for, and you're still going to fund it. The government can't fund that.
No. And the government are also, if you look at it another way, we've got the housing crisis, Dave. We've got other issues in this country that deserve more of the government's attention as them looking at the FAI, who cannot even get their own house in order. So then it boils down: does UEFA and FIFA need to get involved to send in? Well, look, it's like right. I'll use this as an example. It's like when we went bankrupt, the IMF come in to bail us out, and that's a whole nother subject. But it's like that. UEFA and FIFA need to come in, or UEFA needs to come in and say, right, this what needs to happen. If you don't do it, then you're banned from the European Championships. FIFA, you're banned from the next World Cup. Sort your house out. It's happened before, Dave, where they've banned nations because of the corruption in their governing bodies. It's got to happen. And I really feel sorry for the youngsters, the little kids, the young Davids, the young Daves and Dermatrons in this world, in this country that want to play soccer. that want to go out and play football, don't want to play GAA, don't want to play rugby, want to play soccer, and it isn't there because the governing body don't care. And it's really upsetting me, Dave, and it's really got me angry that we're such a great country. We've produced such brilliant talents north and south of the border over the years. How many talents have left our shores to go to the Premier League, Germany, Italy, that have graced the game at the highest level?
But you know what, Dermo?
That came from our little country.
Do you know what though, Dermo? On that, right? Back when I was loving the Ireland team,
Yeah.
2002, etc. Right? You, the Irish lads were only up really against the guys from England, Scotland, Wales, and the odd player that would come from abroad.
Yeah.
But since the Premier League have embraced the worldwide market, and you've got players coming from everywhere, even in the underage setup, and this was before they brought in that new rule where you couldn't bring players in under 18 from abroad and stuff like that to help the English system and stuff like that. When Irish players then were coming up against French, African, Asian, South American, European, stuff like that. All their coaching was so more advanced, so that when we're sending over players, they couldn't keep. They were way behind. They couldn't compete with half of these guys. They couldn't compete with other players coming in from other continents. They just couldn't, because of the coaching levels they were receiving over here. And that's where a lot of the downfall happens, because that money wasn't being filtered down to grassroots and the game was evolving all around us. We're then sending guys over to UKs because, in fairness to a lot of the Premier League clubs and a lot of the English clubs, they have actually kept a lot of their connections in and around Ireland. And we've been lucky enough that we've still been able to send players over. But when they get there, they're so far off it. And I've heard players speak about this in podcasts and stuff like that, where they've got so much catching up to do, and sometimes the gap is just too big. And that's because of the training over here. That's because of where it's at grassroots level. It's absolutely shocking. None of the money is filtered down. Every county has a team where they go and select the best players from that county to come and represent at each age group and everything else. Great.
Yeah.
But then in terms of, getting your teams across, to play other competitions, parents are being asked to fork over something. In my case, when I was in it, to go to a tournament in Barcelona, they wanted 1,200. My parents have 3 other kids. How am I supposed to have that opportunity? There's no, and that's all because at county level, they don't have funding. So all they have is a local astro pitch that you basically have to go down and pay to train on for the evening. Then you also have to pay 130 quid for your rain jacket, your jumper, your shorts, your socks, your ball, and your water bottle, so that you have equipment when you're down there. And that's all it is. That's all they give you. And you have to self-fund it. And it's absolutely shocking. And until they sort that out, improve from because when I was playing, there was no difference for me training with my local team, Cullen, or the Kildare County team. None whatsoever. There was no step up in training or coaching or facilities or anything like that. In fact, they used the facility that my town team used. So, I mean, in order for us to bridge that gap, when we have to realize that when these youngsters are going over, they're competing with players from all around the world, and that starts with coaching from the development age all the way up, getting serious coaches in there. Now, look, it has improved since my time. It's not that bad. It's improved slightly, but it's nowhere near improved the way it needs to be, Darmo.
No, you're spot on, Dave. And look, we love our little country. We're a fighting nation, as you're saying. We are a fighting nation, and we'll never be down. We'll come back. But it just really angers me to see the state of the game we love. It's a game that you and me cherish. We talk about it. We stream about it. And we love our country. We love our national team. If Ireland are playing, you and me, if we're not streaming it, we'll be watching it, and we'll be there because we love our country. And that's when, if the FAI could take a little bit from people like us, I think that will make them rethink. Oh, hang on a minute, we need to do things different. Look, Dave, we're going to end off here now. I've really enjoyed this. Look, it's something that we are going to look into. starting from next season, we're going to cover the Irish League. Dave's going to get involved, hopefully, in it as well. We're going to have a few debates about Irish soccer, where it needs to go. We're going to look at the Irish League, where that needs to go. Um, look, look, you and me are quite positive people, Dave, when it comes to Tottenham. I've come onto your fan shows. There's always like the end of the tunnel. You've the same. We can get there. Let's not fight. Look, if if the job was given to you and me and Philip Brady and Ollie in the morning for the FAI to say, right, Dave Dermo, Ollie, Philip, here you go. Here's the key to the FAI. Give us hope. What hope can we give the youngsters, the Irish fans, for our next qualification for the Nations League? Because we can do it. We can get there.
Look, I think there's a golden opportunity for someone that steps
Mm.
in. All you got to do is dish out as much money as you can into grassroots football,
Yep.
which means at kids level they have the basics. They have a pitch they can train on. They have
Mm.
a pitch they can play on. They have equipment that they can use, not using like jumpers in some regards and stuff like that. Not having to go home because of the weather here in Ireland. Even though we know majority
Mm.
year round the weather's shit, we still don't have pitches and stuff like that that can handle the weather
Mm.
because basically they're all just using old farmers' fields and stuff like
Yeah.
that, the majority of them. So that there needs to be massive funding going into that at grassroots level. But then also you need to put massive funding into the League of Ireland and create a
Mm.
proper, 2-3 team, 2-3 sort of
Yeah.
league, uh, a 2-3 tier sort of league.
Mm.
Because once your homegrown base is strengthened, it's secure, and it's as good as it can be, then you're going to keep producing excellent players.
Mm.
And then the best of them then will get brought over to England, Germany, France,
Mm.
places like that. And then you'll get playing with top players. And then that's how you get a competitive national team again. But it
Yeah.
all starts with at home. You give the
It does.
youngsters, the best pitches and the best, coaches as they can,
Mm.
at grassroots level. Then when you get them into the county system, you have the right coaches in place, which is a step
Mm.
up again, the right equipment in place, which is a step up again. And then you can filter them from the county level. Some of them will go abroad. The rest you put into the League of Ireland.
Mm.
Because right now I listen to a podcast of or League of Ireland players now
Mm.
talking about, or some that have been pulled from the League of Ireland into the lower leagues of England, and they're saying that the biggest difference is the levels in training. For instance, they might be in a gym that they've hired, that
Mm.
the club have hired out for maybe 3 days a week
Mm.
doing a bit of thing. But then when they're going to England, they're going to clubs where they've got their own gym, everything, their
Mm.
own equipment, everything else. They're in there 5-6 days a week. Then they're out on the field doing their training. That's not happening at League of Ireland
No.
currently. So you basically have to put all the money into what you're doing in Ireland, so
Yeah.
that then the best will then get filtered across, and then from there, that's where it will build. And
Mm.
then you also just bring in a manager with a bit more experience. I do feel at times, even in tight games, Stevens Kenny's inexperience tactically have maybe
Yeah.
come back to haunt him a little,
Mm.
where other managers have been able to change things. He hasn't. Or when his
Mm.
game plan hasn't worked from the start, he's failed to change it. So what you do want is maybe a manager with a bit more nous, a bit more experience, but we'll play a good blend. Teams that we should go on throughout,
Yeah.
go and play football. Teams that are bigger than you can understand. Sit back, soak it up, go and hit them on the counter.
Mm.
Just bring in the right manager, because you've got a good group of players there. All you need is someone that will take them on from where they're at, which is a good base. Some of them are in the Premier League
Mm.
already, and take them on to that next level.
Yeah.
We're not a million miles away. We just
We're
need to
not.
make decisions.
Yeah, I think, look, we've hit rock bottom. We're the bottom of the barrel now with this. So I think the only way is up. Look, Dave, thank you so much for coming on. I've enjoyed this. It's something that you and me need to get off our chest. We love our sport over here. We love Ireland soccer. Look, just one last thing before we finish up. My view has always been this: Ireland, the FAI need to look at leagues like Denmark, Sweden, Malta,
Yeah.
all them countries that are the same size as us. Watch how they do their soccer, how they do, and then bring in the people for the right jobs. Bring in the people for the right jobs. Our men's side hasn't even got a sponsor. Fair play to the women's side. To a World Cup. They're top of their league. I think they're doing very well in the Nations League as well. The under 21s are doing fantastic. So look, it's not all doom and gloom. The future is bright. but maybe will it be a next generation? Maybe when me and Dave are old, with our old walking sticks and grey hair and bald heads and talking about the good old days where we have a team. But Dave, listen, where can people find you? I know you're on in about half an hour or so. Very quickly, what's your score prediction for New Zealand tonight?
I'll be honest. Usually, I'd be confident, but I wouldn't be surprised if New Zealand turned us over. I really wouldn't. I mean, I think we played them under Stephen Kenny already once,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
we
Troy
did.
Parrott came on that evening
Yeah,
as a 17-year-old. I think we beat them. I think we might have beaten them 2-1. I think it was a
yeah,
very close game, if I can
it was.
remember. But look, I'll always back the boys in green. I'd probably go 1-0 Ireland. But look, I want people to know, look, I'm no means by an expert on Irish football. That's just my opinion
Yeah.
from what I've, seen down the years, this, that,
Mm.
and the other. And look, I've already played my part. I have put my season ticket on hold until I find out who the new manager is, whether they can get sponsorship and whether they can still get the funding from the FAI. Because if they don't, I ain't backing it and I ain't wasting any more time on
Right.
international break. Money out of my pocket, heading up to the Aviva, freezing my fucking bollocks off, to watch that crap. I'm not doing it anymore. I've done it for the last 2 years and it's just painful at this point. So, but yeah, look, if you want to find out more or you want to hear more about me or more of my opinions, you can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. Dermotron, really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I saw that. Look, I haven't gone up to Mount Everest yet. This season ticket, Stephen Kenny's had a little doll with me, right? And it comes to him, yeah, that fucker isn't coming. That fucker isn't coming. But look, yeah, I'm the same as Dave. I'm going to withhold on getting my season ticket to see where Ireland go. Look, I've enjoyed it too, Dave, but it shows how passionate we are about Irish soccer. How we're not experts in the Irish soccer. None of us, me and Dave both are. We know our bit when we're not. We're not know everything like Ollie does or other people like that who will be coming onto our podcast. But this is so important to me that we are Irish Tottenham YouTubers, that we have an opportunity to make people look and listen. Nothing may happen, but it's us getting our voice out. Listen, go over to the Irish Hotspur. He's on at 7:00 tonight. Dave, you're on.
Yeah, 7. We're going to talk about Tottenham potential facing point deductions, Dermo. So we'll have a conversation on that.
I've got breaking news as well. The FA are looking into the 1918 Arsenal when Arsenal got into the first division above Tottenham. Tottenham have lodged a complaint, but the FA said they cannot do anything because they sat in it for far too long.
It seems like to me, Dermo, they seem to be going after the smaller fish so that they don't have to go after the big fish. They're using the smaller fish to set an example to the big fish, I think.
I tell you what, I said it very quickly, Dave. I said it a while ago. You remember Serie A back in the day, the best league in the world, how corrupt that league was. The Premier League is a very young league. I heard it the other day, and I think it's a great thought. The Premier League's only 21, 22 years old. Yeah. Maybe it has to go through this, Dave, for it to mature, for it to close all the loopholes. But look, ban them all.
What they're doing this for, though, you have Man City 100 and what was it, 115 charges, escape every single one of them, no sanctions. You've got Tottenham. This case was already heard back in 2000, or back in, I think, 2008, 2009. It was already heard. It's at the dispute of, Defoe and some other guy he used to have represented him. That's how all this is coming about. The other guy will not give up. And the FA chose not to charge us. Now, all of a sudden, because everything have been done. Oh shit! We'll have to come out and it's a joke. We come over 7:00. You're now on it.
Yeah, and it would. I think this is going out tonight. But if you are watching it after Dave's show, going back watch the rewatch. Dave would love it. Hit the like and subscription on Dave's channel. Please hit the like and subscription on this channel. Whatever you do, we are Ireland till we die. Me and Dave always will be. And we're back at 7:30 for the watch long. I'm back tomorrow with 4 from Philip from his Titanic. Will it sink? Won't it sink? We should never know. But if it doesn't come on, we think there might be a problem. Whatever you do, enjoy yourself. Come on, you Spurs. In Big Ange we trust. And Stephen Kenny out. Woohoo!